The Detroit Lions remain the only winless team in the league. So what's the key to getting the Honolulu blue and silver off the snide? It's time for our weekly conversation with Mike Payton, editor at SideLion Report, as he gets us ready for this week in Detroit Lions football. We started this week's conversation by tossing around some ideas on how to fix the Lions' stagnant offense.
You know what? If the running game isn't working, maybe it's time to kind of abandon that and move forward just the passing game. You saw on the last play of the game when Stafford was going downfield, he was 5 for 5. He had plenty of time. They were playing with urgency. That's the kind of thing that they need to do each and every drive of the game on offense. And they did take a few shots downfield at Calvin Johnson. He wasn't able to reel them in, but at least they were taking those shots, and that's something that they haven't done all year long. And they really need to get it going. I mean, they haven't held a lead since week 1 when they were up 21-3 against the Chargers. So they really need to get things going on offense.
When you look at the last play in Seattle, just give me your initial reaction to the batted ball play and I guess the lack of urgency, at least publicly from the Lions organization, about their disappointment on the call.
Well, I fell to the ground. I just laid there for about 20 minutes, just trying to figure out what the heck just happened. And yeah, I mean, it's a tough call. And when you lose a game like that based on something that happens with the referee, it's always one that hurts the most. But you know, I actually am one of the people that like the approach that the Lions are taking to this call. I understand that you can get mad, you can rant and rave and throw things around, but it's not going to change the fact that you lost that game. And I think what the Lions are doing is paying more attention to the fact that they need to improve some things and go out and put their best foot forward against Arizona rather than dwell on the final call of last Monday's game.
Now, the injury bug bit the Lions a lot in Seattle. Eric Ebron had an ankle or a knee injury, and Tyrone Walker broke his leg. So the Lions were sort of in scramble mode to fill out the rest of their roster. So how do you think these injuries moving forward will affect the rest of the season?
Well, they're going to be missing a key piece there in Eric Ebron. The good news is that it's something it's probably not going to last that long. He might even be back next week. He's put in a position where it's a kind of personal preference rather, and he can pick when he wants to come back, sort of thing. Nada is obviously going to be an injury that they're going to miss a lot. They need somebody to help bring that pressure in the middle of the defensive line, and he takes on double coverage almost every play. So that helps open things up. And this Sunday they're going to be going in there with the guys like Andre Fluellen and Ish Kitchen, who honestly I've been covering football for a while. I have no idea who Ish Kitchen is. And Karan Reed and guys of that nature. Those guys are going to have to really step up in the meantime while those guys are gone with injuries. But the good news is obviously DeAndre Levy will be making his return this Sunday.
It's about time, isn't it?
It sure is, yeah.
So how does his return affect the play of the defense in your mind?
Well, the defense has actually consistently gotten better as the weeks have gone on. You definitely saw against Seattle that they were able to get back to Russell Wilson. They were able to, work on stopping some passes and getting tackles, and just overall shutting down the Seattle's run game, which was a really big thing that they needed to do to win that game, or try to win that game rather. So I think Levy coming back is really going to make a huge difference as far as being in the middle, protecting the middle of the field. I mean, Levy's a guy that can stop the run. He could also go after your tight end. The guy could go after your wide receiver, depending on who it is. I mean, we've seen this guy shut down Jordy Nelson. DeAndre Levy is very, very important to this defense, and I'm not going to say that they shoot up to being the number one D, but due to the success that they actually have been having here in the past couple of weeks, I think Levy's going to really, really help them kind of take that to the next level.
Now, the Lions defense only gave up 13 points, and as I mentioned before, the offense only scored 3 in Seattle. When you look at what the Lions are doing on offense in terms of what Lombardi is doing, and I know that Caldwell has at least considered the possibility of calling plays. What do you think, from a coaching perspective, the Lions can do to shake up their offense?
Well, I think the popular thought right now is to fire Joe Lombardi. I don't know if you go that far just yet. I do think that they really need to change the way they run the offense. And, when you're missing guys like Joique Bell, that almost really helps the Lions start making those changes, because no longer you're going to have that 1-yard carry on the first drive of the game. You're going to be able to spread the ball out a little bit more, and I think that they really need to start doing some shots down the field and working the screen game when appropriate. But what really upset me about the Lions on Mondays, here we are in the fourth quarter. We've got a chance to come back in a game that's not that far from us, and we're trying to run the ball. What are we doing? We're trying to do something that hasn't worked all day, and you get Abdullah and Riddick out there running for 2-3 yards a carry, and you got to get it going. You got to get the pass game moving, and I think that's the key to the Lions winning.
Now, when we look at Matthew Stafford in terms of running the offense, do you think it might be a more effective game plan to have him sort of take on a Peyton Manning type role and run a no-huddle, up-tempo offense, or would the young offensive line give you pause for that?
No, absolutely not. I think that he should. I think that he should definitely take on that no-huddle role, and I think that will better suit the offensive line because they won't have to block as long. And also it'll better suit Stafford because he won't have to hold on to the ball as long, which in the past has always been a bad thing for him. If you get Stafford scrambling around the field, it usually isn't going to end well. So I think getting the ball out faster could really help them. Unfortunately, that does involve an awful lot of screens and underneath throws, and you're going to have to hope that your guys can make plays after the catch. And you got Golden Tate. He led the league in yards after catch last year. He's perfect for that type of scenario. But that no huddle will keep the defense honest, keep the defense getting tired on their feet, trying to figure out what the call is. And yeah, the Lions definitely have succeeded any time that they've done that this year. So I definitely think that an up-tempo offense is the way to go.
What's the key to success on Sunday against Arizona in your mind?
Well, you're going to have to control that offense, and it's the fourth best offense in the league. So I think if it shouldn't be too hard, believe it or not. I think you control Carson Palmer, you control that entire offense. This is a team that struggled a lot before Palmer showed up, and then struggled an awful lot after Palmer got injured last year. So you control that quarterback, you control that offense. So I would imagine that they're going to be getting in his face all afternoon, or at least attempting to. And then on defense, it's Patrick Peterson versus Calvin Johnson. I mean, that's a matchup right there. This is the 5th-ranked defense. The good news, I guess, for the Lions is that they're 16th against the run. So if the Lions are going to go out there and try to establish the run game early, this might be a team that they can establish it on.
Now, when you had mentioned before about Joyce Bell and him being ineffective, would you, if you were the Lions, would you play Zenner more often, or would you increase the passing game and sort of abandon the run? Because the Lions have said they're going to be consistently stubborn with the run, but obviously it isn't effective. So would you pass more on early downs to set up the run, or how would you handle that?
Well, I think, just looking at the last 4 games, every game the Lions have started off with a drive, one carry right off the bat. That's exactly what they've done. I think if you come out there and throw the ball down the field, that might shock the opponent. You might get a touchdown in that first play just because everybody thought you were going to run and you passed. So I don't think you completely abandon the run game altogether. But I think more what they should do is, if it's not working in the course of the game, then they should abandon it. As far as Joyce Bell goes, or Zach Zenner rather, I think you do play Zach Zenner a little bit more after what he did on Monday. He didn't shock the world or anything, but when he got the ball, he was moving up the field and made a couple great plays there for them in the fourth quarter. And I think Zenner is the way to go. And unfortunately, Joyce Bell, as much as I like him, he may just not be able to get it done anymore. I think that injury really took it out of him.
If they somehow manage to get their first win of the season, what will the narrative be come Monday? And if they remain winless, what will people be talking about?
Well, I think if they win, it's a massive upset, and they should be happy. Fans should rejoice, because if they win that game, that would be a proof that they're able to win a big game when it matters the most. I'm not going to say that the Lions can come back and make the playoffs if they win on Sunday, but I will say the schedule is very favorable after this game. So if they were to ever go on a 4-game winning streak, this would be the time to do it in franchise history. And I think it all starts with a win over Arizona. So they really got to go out there and put their best foot forward and try to get this win. And obviously, if they don't win, I think what you're going to see is a lot of fans being a lot more upset than they were last week, and it's just going to keep getting worse until they do get a win. And even then, I think the damage will probably be done. I think if the Lions lose on Sunday, you'll have a lot of fans calling for some jobs on Monday.
And just the Lions, based on a team, as a team, they come out and they don't look to be engaged until their backs are totally against the wall, or they have to make a play in the final 2 minutes of a game. So is that on coaching, or is it on Caldwell to get them more motivated? Where do you think the disconnect is with this team and not getting off the faster starts?
I think it's all on the offense. I think it's all on Joe Lombardi and Jim Caldwell too, Matthew Stafford, pretty much anybody on the offensive side of the ball. It's the problem is that it's taking them so long to get plays developed and get things going, and they finally don't get hot until the game is almost over. But I think the key part of that is that when they do get hot, it's when they're in an up-tempo, no-huddle situation or if they're just moving the offense faster and showing more urgency. If the Lions can show that urgency all game long and play the way that they played on that last drive minus the fumble, this Lions team is going to be what you want it to be. It's going to be very, very hard to stop.
And when you assess the job that Caldwell's done as a whole this season, obviously they haven't won a game yet, but what are some positive signs you can take out of this season so far, and what are some areas that the Lions still have to work on?
Well, as far as positive in Caldwell goes, a lot of people, it's not a popular decision or popular thing to say, but I still stand by Jim Caldwell. I think he's the right man for the job. Things have not gone well, but I applaud him for kind of having the mentality of let's move forward, let's go to the next week, let's not dwell, let's get things going. So I think in that sense, Caldwell and the culture that he's brought to this team really is a good thing for them. And on positive, Eric Ebron was playing really well before he got hurt. It's sad to see him go down and miss a week or two. And the defense obviously is improving, which is very, very good to see, very encouraging. I don't think that you're going to see the second best defense like you did last year, but I think these guys working together are going to be able to get the job done and make things a little bit easier on the offense. But obviously, offensively, that's where the work needs to be done. And sad because it's needed to be done for so long and cannot seem to get it going. And
despite all the money they've invested in this offense, but that's another story for another day. Finally, Mike, what do you think? What do you think will be the storyline coming out of this game, and what do you expect to happen on Sunday?
Well, for this week, it has been a real tale of two halves for me. I started off this week very upset, like most Lions fans. And even on Wednesday, I was on Sean Belegian's show. I think you've had him on here as a guest before.
Yes.
I was on his show on Wednesday, and he asked me, if I thought the Lions were going to win on Sunday, and I just could not say yes. And I told him there's no way, Arizona's going to destroy the Lions. And then all of a sudden, I just felt like the Lions were going to win. And I really don't have any statistical thing to back this up. I'm absolutely playing a hunch this week. I think the Lions go out and win this game. I think they're the most upset team in the NFL after what happened to them on Monday. And what we do know about the Lions is that when their back is up against the wall, they always seem to perform. And their back has never been more up against the wall in recent times than now.
Mike, we want to thank you for your time this afternoon, and let's get the Lions to win on Sunday, okay?
Absolutely.
Have a great day, Mike, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right.
Bye-bye.